Hello, I'm Barry Osborne, the founder and the CEO of Rural Mission Solutions. We exist to help village churches sharpen their mission emphasis throughout the course of a year and help them to find simple ways of being able to engage in sharing the good news about Jesus. Thank you for this opportunity to say something about Christmas and Advent with you. I'm sorry we can't be with you personally, but perhaps we can have another opportunity during the coming year and be able to meet with you and give you some help and support. There are four headings really in what I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to be drawing on the experience, not just of my experience, but also colleagues in the organization. And we've been working in rural areas for a long time, so we picked up quite a few ideas. And there are four main headings. I want to talk very briefly about planning. Most of you will have got your planning done by now. And then I want to talk about preparation. Then I want to talk about specific activities, ideas, suggestions you could use. And then finally, I want to talk about looking forward. It's really important that we don't just treat Christmas as a standalone issue, but see it as part of the story that we're seeking to share throughout the course of the year. So more about that later. It is probable that you have all responsibilities in multi-parish benefices. And that means that when it comes to Christmas, you have to think in terms of each of the particular parishes and what their hopes and desires are going to be, what they want in their premises. And that raises a question straight away. Do we need only to use our premises? Are there other opportunities in the community we could use? The school, the village hall, the village pub? Any of these things could be helpful venues where our activities could be shared. But when it comes to planning, it's really important to know who you should be talking with, as well as the churches that are in the benefice. And so maybe some of this is obvious, but I want to say it's really important that we don't just think about Christmas as being ours, because other people think of it as theirs, including the shops. So we do need to think in terms of who we talk with and see if we can form partnerships. Now, one of the things that tends to get neglected is the importance of doing things ecumenically. Now, you may not have a nonconformist church in your village, but there may be one nearby that thinks that its particular parish area incorporates the village where you have a church. So can you engage in a conversation with your ecumenical partners, please, and make sure that you're talking about the Christmas program? In one particular village where I was a nonconformist minister, the village used to have a very big event. It's a small village. They used to have a very big event at Christmas, the usual carols and lessons. And we didn't want to in any way look as if we were competing with that. So we arranged something in advance of Christmas, and we called it the Christmas warm-up. And we had a very informal meeting. The church had been reordered, so we could have the chairs in a different arrangement, and we welcomed people. We had mulled wine and mince pies, and then we had tins of chocolates and things which we passed around during the program, and people requested their favorite carol, and I just told the bits of the story, the Christmas story, in between favorite carols. And it was always popular. We were always well supported by the parish church, who looked forward to it as well. And it did not compete with the program at the parish church. So talk with your ecumenical partners, please. Then make sure you're talking to the school. Is there anything you can do together? Maybe you could talk in terms of some craft activity you could suggest they might like to do. You could talk, I hope, with the village council. I hope you do integrate with your parish council. It's so important to do that. And if you have a pub, talk to the people at the pub, what their plans are for Christmas, and see what you could do. And then finally, what about radio and television? Now, I've been encouraging people to interact with the radio sometime. One of my friends introduced into Radio Leicester the idea of singing Christmas. So they have a special service, and it's broadcast in pubs and clubs and churches and things all over the county of Leicestershire. And one of the churches in the area took that one step forward and talked to the local television, and they managed to get a really big feature on regional television as a result of that. So think in terms of the of the media and how you could use that. So having talked about planning, let's talk about preparing. There are a number of things that are important to mention. First of all is, have you got your advertising planned? Now, if you haven't got advertising and publicity planned, then I'd like to recommend an organization called Christian Publicity and Outreach, CPO, based in Worthing in Sussex. Now, they are the professionals when it comes to producing material, and I encourage you to see their website. We'll provide you with the link, and find out all the resources they have. In addition to their printed material, they now have some other material available as well. And then what are you doing about carol sheets? Are you using carol sheets? Using the usual Bethlehem ones? Now, are you using the same ones you used last year and the year before and the year before? And are they looking a little tired? Are they smelling musty? Well, bin them, please, and get some new ones. They're not that expensive, but have some really nice, attractive carol sheets. Then, of course, plan a tidy up. Now, it's a good opportunity to make sure things are nice and comfortable, well dusted and tidy, so that you're ready. And that's an opportunity to get others involved, not just people within your congregation, but maybe some husbands. And you can encourage them, have a special preparation day, clean-up day, getting ready for Christmas. So that's important. And then you need to think about what you're going to give away. Now, when people come to your Christmas services, I hope that you're going to give them a really good welcome. Welcome them as guests, not as visitors, but guests. Now, that might need a little team to do it, not just the usual person that does the door, but have a little team. Make sure there's a warm welcome. Make sure that if there are people that have never been before, they know where to sit and, have some support. Can you introduce them to somebody they will sit with? Is your regular congregation ready to have people sitting among them? Might come as a shock sometimes, but it's good that they're made welcome and introduced to the people they're sitting with. Also, if you do have toilet facilities, that's pointed out. And if you can use a screen, make sure they can see the screen. So all of those things need to be planned and prepared. And in the area of giving hospitality, if you're going to use refreshments, please make sure they're quality and make sure that people are encouraged to come. Don't just say, we're serving coffee. It's that, if they're visitors or guests rather, then make a point of saying, would you like to come across and have a coffee with me? Make sure that hospitality is really, really good. But there's also the issue of what you give away at the end of the service. So put something in their hands. Now, maybe you could make a little pack up and put it in an envelope. If you'd include in it a thank you letter and maybe a Christmas card or a Christmas message. Maybe you could tell them what programs are coming up in your church life in the coming year. All of those sort of things. Use the opportunity to put something helpful into their hands that will encourage them to keep coming on another occasion. Now, you may well decorate your church at Christmas. You may have a Christmas tree and so on. So once again, try to get lots of people involved. And on that subject, sometimes in a benefice, there are people with particular skills in one church that could be helpful to other churches. And being able to promote that would be a helpful thing for you. So if you've got people, for instance, who are really good at publicity or really good at craft work or anything like that, then if you could identify who these people are and try to encourage the resources in one parish church to work with other parish churches in the benefice, obviously would be a benefit. Now let's come to activities, and I've got quite a long list of activities, and if necessary we can provide you with links on the internet, or we will always provide information if you contact us, and our contact information will come up at the end of this video. The first one I want to mention is turning your village into an Advent calendar. Now, this was developed in church in the St. Albans diocese by one of my team members. And what he did was he produced a set of 24 posters. They were designed as A3 posters, and they were distributed throughout the community, but on a day-by-day basis. Each poster had a Christmas-type picture or a picture illustrating the story, and he went from Genesis all the way through to the Magi. So have an appropriate picture, and appropriate text and a number on the poster. And he would organise the children in the village, working with the school, to do a hunt for that day's picture. And they would have to write down in a book where they saw it and what it was about. And that really shared the story and got people involved. And the school kicked it off by putting the poster up outside the school. And so it got a really good start for the whole event. So the idea is to use all sorts of places. Obviously, they need to be external, but shop windows, house windows, notice boards throughout the village, various places. And you can use them more than once, as long as you don't move them on consecutive dates. And those set of 24 posters are available to you free of charge. We'll send them to you via the internet. And my colleague, David Wells, will do that. And I'll give you his contact details. But just to say now, it's david@ruralmissions.org.uk. More at the end of the video. Now, do you do carol singing? If you do, please don't use it as a fundraising thing. Don't take any money off people. Instead, give them something. Spend a little bit of money on sweets. Get a really big bag of sweets. So as you go around, if people come to the door when you're carol singing, offer them some sweets. And of course, put alongside that a card with all the invitation to your activities throughout the period. So you can use it as a promotional opportunity, but go with generosity. Now, Messy Church, do you do that? If you do, obviously there's good resources for Christmas. If you don't do Messy Church, there's lots of resources for craft ideas, and we can come up with a lot more if you need them. But putting on an event, perhaps on a Saturday morning or during the week coming up to Christmas, would be a good opportunity to get engaged with families. Now, another one of my colleagues, when he was working down in Cornwall, set up a program which was designed to take the pressure off parents just before Christmas. So the Saturday or another weekday, as it's holiday time, he arranged a special event, and through the day, they provided some hospitality for the children, but they had singing and craft activities, storytelling, all sorts of things to make it a fun event for the children. And they incorporated into it a quiz. Now, we have a quiz, a special Christmas quiz. And again, there'll be information about that. It'll be on our website. But it's basically an opportunity to check whether what people think Christmas is all about is really what it is about. So how many animals were there in the stable? Was it actually a stable? All that sort of thing. So there's lots of questions, and people have nativity plays in their mind. And often these are tradition and not necessarily biblical. So it can be fun. What does it actually say in the Bible? And if you do that with the children during the day, when the parents come to pick up the children, if you have a pickup time scheduled, then you can offer them coffee. They can look at what the children have done, and you can share a quiz together and set the children against the adults and see who wins. So if children have done it already, of course, they're going to win. So that could be good fun, and it's a way of engaging with families. Get it in the picture. This was a Baptist program, really worked very, very well, but times have changed, and we're a bit sensitive about taking pictures of children these days. So what we suggest is that you ask people to take their own pictures. Now, you need to create a backdrop. Now, you can do that if you've got someone with artistic talent, they could do it, or you can have people dressed up. You could invite people to dress up in different characters if they would like to do so, dressed up as Mary, holding a baby Jesus. And if you do it early enough before Christmas, people can use it in their Christmas card. Great opportunity, again, to engage with your community. Linked to that, something we did in my church, we created some large size cutout shapes of shepherds and wise men and so on. And we had holes where the faces would go. Now, it's the sort of thing you perhaps have seen at the seaside. Use people's their cameras to take the photos, with people putting their heads through the holes, so they were the shepherds or whatever, you know. So you could utilize that, and that was good fun, and it got people involved. And on that occasion, we were providing hot chocolate, and that went down a real bomb. So get in the picture. Now, are you doing anything with Christmas trees? Do you have one in your church? I've talked already about getting that decorated, getting other people in to do it. Don't just rely on the same people. Try and get people from the community coming in to do things. And then, incidentally, if you want to promote that, do it down the pub. The other thing you can do with Christmas trees, obviously have a Christmas tree festival and invite different organizations in the village to decorate a Christmas tree. Make sure you can get hold of trees about the same size, artificial or real, so that they can be decorated, have a competition on who can make the attractive Christmas tree. Another idea linked with it is an idea a friend of mine developed called From Christmas to the Cross. Now, obviously, the story of Christmas is the introduction of Jesus, who's the savior of the world. And the next big event is Easter. What he recommends is that you get a tree, but if you break the branches off carefully, you could end up with two fairly horizontal branches that would form a cross with the main stem of the tree and then these two branches out. And so he would do that after Christmas, put it to one side, bring it out during Lent and have it in the church, and then start to prepare it as you come up to Easter. So by Good Friday, it might have certain things attached to it. And then after Good Friday, on Holy Saturday, you could add other things to it so that when it comes to Easter morning, it's got flowers on the cross. You use wire netting and stuff that you put the plants in, the flower stems, and you can get some that are good for the environment now. So that went on the cross and people decorated it with flowers. And this is a beautiful idea of linking Christmas and Easter together. Have you thought about doing a fireside thing at the pub? Now, that could be fun. If you've got a good storyteller in your church, I hope the vicar doesn't have to do everything, but it's nice if you are involved. Good to hold it at the pub, especially if they've got a roaring fire, and you can do a fireside event with the story of Christmas or with some Christmas poems being used, and maybe some favourite carols as well. So something for a fireside event at the pub. Now, another thing you can do during Advent is put a tableau outside your church. Now, you can buy these, or you can create them if you've got people at craft. You can make them quite large and have like a Christmas scene that you can build it up over a period of time. That will attract. I work with a colleague who was a brilliant artist. We used to get an 8x4 sheet of hardboard, paint the background white, and then he painted the Christmas scene, build that up, and we put that up outside. Now, it could go outside the church, outside the vicarage, outside the village hall. It could go anywhere where you could be able to mount this. So building up a picture of Christmas, you can have things illuminated perhaps. You might even have 2 or 3 around the village at different locations with different parts of the story being illustrated, and the different ones go up at different times, and it keeps the interest growing. If you are having special illuminations at Christmas and you've got a spire and it's safe to do so, you might think about putting a star on your spire. Do be sure that it's safe to do so. Another thing that you might like to try is a Christmas trail. This was first introduced to me. It's done in different ways in different parts of the country, but the best one I ever heard of was done in a village in East Anglia by a friend of mine, and he organized it. It started out in the village churchyard, in the parish churchyard, and he had some shepherds dressed up, and I don't know whether he got any sheep, but he had them there. And at a certain time, the children had been organized to do this village Christmas trail, and they started off meeting with the shepherds. And so they'd hear something about Christmas from the shepherds, and that would be the beginning of the story. Now, the key for this was that in every place that the children went on this trail, they asked the question, is the baby Jesus here? So they start off with the shepherds, is the baby Jesus here? And they would say, oh, no, he's not here. And what they did in his situation was down at the Methodist chapel in the village, they had some people dressed up as angels, so adults dressed as angels, and had them singing carols. And so the shepherd said, they're singing down at the chapel. Go down, he might be there. So they go off to the chapel, see the angels, hear them singing some carols, and join in, and then ask the question, is the baby Jesus here? No, he's not here. Had you thought of trying at the pub? There's things going on down there. And so everybody went down to the pub, and again, they were made welcome. And the question was asked, the children all ask it together, is the baby Jesus here? And of course, no, he's not. And they suggested an address where they might find the baby Jesus. They all went down to this address, and sure enough, behind the house, there was a lovely brick shed, and they had developed a beautiful scene for the birth of Jesus, like a stable scene, and beautifully people dressed up beautifully for the part. And they would say, is the baby Jesus here? And of course, the answer was yes. And they would sing carols, and then they would go into the house, and in the house, they would have some refreshments. So it was a great opportunity of telling the story of Jesus, and it can be done in different ways. Create a Christmas trail. And then finally, I wonder whether you use video in your church. Do you have projection opportunity? There are some super family Christmas films available. Again, we can provide ideas and suggestions for that if you want to contact us. If you're interested in doing a film night, do you do Flicks in the Sticks? One of my colleagues was one of the pioneers for doing that for churches all over the country. Flicks in the Sticks, an opportunity to use your church periodically. Now, if you get an annual license, it is not that expensive for a small number of people. An annual license is better value than an event license. And if you've got the annual license, you can use it for every special occasion. So when there are things going on like the Olympics and so on, you can link in and use those as opportunities for engagement with your community and an opportunity to share something of the gospel. Of course, you need a license, and you need to contact CCLI for that. Again, all the contact information will be in the handouts, and we're happy to provide that. So quite a number of ideas there. I've just thought of one more that's maybe worth mentioning. Have you heard of Posada? Now, this was a Mexican event in which a small family group used to travel from place to place through the community, and would take some emblems that they would leave behind. So they would go around the village. And this would be done over a period of time. And the Church Army developed this and developed some material for it. We can provide you with the link. And what they've done is sometimes use little models. They can get a little model, Joseph and Mary and Jesus and so on, and have some animals. I used to use sheep, and you'd have lots of these small sheep, and wherever the family went on this trail, day after day, that they pass it on to the next family and the next family, do that right the way through each of the parishes, or through the benefice if you wanted to do so. And wherever they went, they kept a diary. So whichever the date was, Mary and Joseph and Jesus came to us today, and we had bacon and eggs for breakfast, or whatever it might be. Just make a little diary note, and that travels with the models around the community. I hope I've made it clear enough, but there's details on our website, and also you can contact Church Army and ask about Posada as well. The final point I want to make is about looking forward, planning forward from Christmas. I've already mentioned about putting something into people's hands before they leave. That's so important. But the other thing that you could do is make sure you flag up what's coming. Now, have you got a plan for Epiphany Sunday? Now, that's not a bad opportunity to actually write or contact people who've had their children baptized in the course of the year, and maybe invite them back for a special Epiphany service, and obviously offer good hospitality when they come. So use Epiphany as an opportunity. Also, Candlemas is another opportunity to do something and talk about Jesus as the light of the world. And so there's lots of things that you could do, but plan forward and invite people to the next great event. You know how they trail that on the television, constantly repeating, because saying it once is never enough. Advertisers know that we advertise not just to give people information, but to get it into their heads. Now, the secular world will be having their attention drawn to Christmas very soon. All the Christmas wares will be on sale. And people will be advertising on the television all their Christmas material. I think I've seen at least one being trailed already about toys that are appropriate. So get on the program. Make sure you're planning ahead and promoting the next main event, and make sure it's in the information pack that you're giving away. And another thing you could do, perhaps I'll make this the last one, is have a time after Christmas when you can reflect on who did you see at Christmas you do not normally see on a Sunday. And maybe if you've got some capable and responsible people in your church, you could arrange for them to be a link person and to pass on to them when anything special is happening at the church, and just to keep an eye on them so that if they're unwell, the information comes through, and if you've got a pastoral team, they can visit. Now, obviously, there are safeguarding implications to pretty well everything I have said. So do make sure that you're properly covered by safeguarding and that you conduct yourself in accordance with your safeguarding policy so there's no risk of anything going wrong. Well, thank you for the opportunity of sharing these things. I'm sorry we can't be there personally to share, but hopefully this will do instead. Have a look at our website. Our Christmas and Advent programs are woefully becoming dated and need to be updated, but there are ideas there that you could use, and some of the things I've mentioned are expanded on. So do take a look and see if there's something that we've suggested that you could use. I'm sure we're not the source of all wisdom, and it may well be that between you, there are lots of good ideas that you're now going to share with one another. And if you've got something that you know is a good idea and I haven't mentioned it, then please send it to ruralmissionsolutions.org.uk. We're always looking for good ideas ready to pass on to others. So that's it. Thanks for the opportunity to come. I hope indeed that I can come and share other ideas and suggestions about how your church ministry and mission can be encouraged and developed. We're here to serve, and we offer a special event called Good News in the Countryside for rural church leaders. It's a great opportunity for networking. We do it ecumenically, or we sometimes do it on a deanery basis. Get people together, sharing ideas and suggestions, and then we include in it a couple of key presentations that we believe will be useful. The other thing that we do is we run an event with either one church, or we can do it with a benefice, and it's called Mission Can Be Fun. It's called that because often mission seems to be burdensome and something that doesn't fit with our culture and all sorts of things. So we explain how mission can be fun. It's really often run as an away day, so something like 10 o'clock to 3:30, and it could be held in a village hall, or you could go to a nice venue somewhere else, or even use your church premises. That's fine. And it can either be a one-day event, a sort of 6-hour event on a day, or we can do it with a series of smaller meetings over a weekend, starting on the Friday and going through to the Sunday. If you'd like to know about that, that's how to encourage your church to develop a common understanding of its mission. Why is the church there? What is its opportunity and resources for mission? And often churches have more resources than they realize. It's easy to say we don't have the resources. We're too old. We don't have the time. But there are resources there. God has already given you everything you need in order to do what he's asking you to do right now. The key to that is discovering what it is that he's asking you. So Mission Can Be Fun does all of that, and it's great fun. It's an enjoyable day. It's not a scary event, and it's a wonderful way of building up a sense of mission in your church. You can contact us about any of these things, and we offer those events absolutely free of charge. We do it not because we're wealthy. We do it because we've had a grant, and we spend that money specifically on helping churches that might not be able to afford it. Give us a donation if you want to. That's always appreciated. Thank you so much. Goodbye. And I feel I want to say a very happy Christmas to you all.